Hello, both sides of the conversation family. We welcome you to this virtual space crafted especially for you. My name is Jada Curry, and I'm both sides of the conversation's marketing director and graphics design specialist. I want to take some time to ground us all as a community into this space we are about to open up in, so let's go through our community standards. Both sides of the conversation is providing a safe and honest space for open conversation, so we ask that you all be respectful of that. We also ask that you be respectful of each panelist, host, and participant. We do encourage healthy debates and conversations. Don't personalize anything with anyone. This includes name-calling, bullying, trolling, or shaming. This will not be allowed or tolerated. Your perspective is yours. It is not a prescription. You do not have to agree, but show respect. These community standards apply to all of our live shows and any virtual spaces that we hold on social media, including YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. We want to make sure that we are caring for each other as a community. This is our priority in all of our endeavors as both sides of the conversation. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed today's show and continue to stay in touch with us via YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or all of them. All right, thank you for listening and see you soon.
Welcome everybody to both sides of the conversation. I'm John Henry, Executive Director. Today is Thursday, so you know what that means. We're going to have another Educational Thursday presentation. A phenomenal sister that's going to come on and bless our community with some sauce, some great information that we need. She's going to be doing a presentation on the road to financial independence. And, this is the type of stuff that we're going to continue to push out this year here at both sides of the conversation as we have committed to our community. We told y'all in 2022, we are talking about health and wealth all year long. We're going to bring on the phenomenal folks to come give our community that access to that information, that education. And we're going to keep doing this all throughout the year. We're going to be doing other stuff, but that's going to be our focus. We want to uplift our community. We want to get our finances in order. We need Black ownership. We need our businesses to thrive. And it starts with these type of presentations to help educate our community, give them the tools and some of the things that's needed to become financially free and building that wealth and leaving that wealth for our future generations. So we are excited for tonight's presentation. We're going to continue to keep plugging along. With that being said, we got a couple of announcements coming up today. Before I get started, I want to give a huge shout out to my brother, Corey Monroe. Today is his birthday, and I know everybody's been giving him love. He is a pillar of our community, does a lot of work with the Bayview advocates, working with our young folks, working for the school. I mean, he's been doing a lot of stuff to impact our community. So we want to give Corey a happy birthday and let him know that we appreciate the work that he does for community and the support that he also supports us here at both sides of the conversation. So just wanted to get that out today. I've been running around. There's a lot of things happening to impact our community. So I just want to let the community folks know we have some amazing things that's going to be coming out. I'm hearing some of the ideas and some of the strategies that folks are trying to get resources and things to our community to help impact our community in these crises that we're dealing right now. As you all know, the violence has increased in our community. A number of the substance abuse issues have increased in our community. And a lot of it has to do with lack of resources and a lot of access to services. So there's a number of service providers and folks in the community that are doing their part to get some of this stuff to our community so we can help curb some of the stuff that's taking place in our community. But there's a lot of work. It's not going to happen overnight. Nobody's moving a magic wand. It's going to happen, but it's going to take all of us to come together and continue to work as community. And just wanted to say also today, I just been moved by some of our folks in the community, some of our elders. When we talk about accountability and how we hold each other up, it's just nice to be in space today with community, family, and I want to give a shout out to Nate Ford and James, Uncle Stank over there at Collective Impact. Folks are getting rejuvenated. It's Black History Month. A lot of things coming on. People are feeling that rush and that need to get things done. So our folks are just coming together, hashing out some of our traumas and some of the issues that impact our communities from moving forward. And we're trying to hold folks accountable, and we're trying to bridge some of these gaps and heal some of these relationships so that we can help impact our community. So just excited about some of the energy and some of the movement of our community, folks. And it's a lot of work, but it's the start of the conversation is going to make things move forward. So just excited about that. So we'll jump into some of the rural news real quick and some of our announcements and get started for tonight's presentation. This story right here is a very concerning story for me. There was a Houston doctor that said Chase Bank employees questioned her medical credentials when she tried to deposit her first $16,000 check at her new job, fresh out of residency school as a full-time physician. This Valley Oaks doctor, Malika Mitchell Stewart, visited a Houston area Chase Bank to open up an account to deposit her check. And we know racial profiling is still happening in our community. And this is stuff we've been seeing all over the news from people still driving while Black, different things. The racial and systemic racial things that's been impacting our community. When we talk about banks and finances, a lot of work that needs to happen. I know that there's a lawsuit in this case that's been filed, but again, community, these are the stuff that we are still dealing. We are not out of the woodworks when we talk about equity and we talk about inclusion and the things that we have to go through as Black Americans and Brown Americans just to cash a $16,000 check. So just know we still got a lot of work to do. Unfortunate situation. We'll keep community updated as more details come out. Sad to hear it, but this is still the racial profiling is still happening in our community. As you all know, there's been a storm we talked about on Tuesday that's been powering through Texas and through the East Coast. There are still about 30,000 families that's without power as that storm is still moving through. Very sad news. I was listening to some of it today to hear some of our disabled folks and some of the folks who have kids with special needs and medication. To have that amount of power outage and folks not having access to service. Very, very sad. If you have loved ones or family in those areas, please try to reach out and check on them and make sure they're not impacted. And we hope that those officials and those organizations that are working to get those powers can get them on shore. It is sad that our community and the infrastructure that we all talk about here in this country are still being impacted, and we haven't came up with the innovative ways to get around these storms and different things. And I know there's a lot of think tanks that's happening, but we got to do it better. This is America, and it's unfortunate we got 30,000 folks still out of power dealing with this storm as it moves through our country. So we're going to keep praying for those folks over there. But if you have loved ones who've been impacted, please go out, check on them, social media, message them or something, and just make sure that they're doing well. Also, our both sides of conversation announcements. As you all know, Amazon Smile is a way that you can help support this organization with no extra charge to you. If you have an Amazon account, we know a lot of folks like to shop on Amazon. Please sign up on Amazon Smile and choose both sides of the conversation as one of your charitable organizations that you would like to donate and support. No extra cost to you on your purchase. But if you choose us, Amazon will support some of the financial efforts and things that we need for our organization. So we appreciate the support ahead of time. We appreciate all the support that we get from all of our community folks. Also, our Giving Tuesday pledge is still going through February 22. All of our social medias have ways you can support as well on that, and we're going to be pushing that through the end of this month. But there are ways you can support through our website and different things of that nature. So we just want to thank community again and all the folks who just been getting behind the work that we're doing and supporting us to help push this platform forward, as well as the community impact that we do. It takes a lot of money and it takes a lot of things to do the work that we're doing. So we appreciate all of the community support. With that being said, we have some community announcements that's coming up. The East Oakland Collective and both sides of the conversation and a number of other community partners are having the Feed the Hood 20 food drive and distribution that is happening February 12th, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at 7800 MacArthur Boulevard. If you would like to be a part of it, please reach out to the East Oakland Collective website, or you can connect to our events at BSOTC to sign up as a volunteer. If you'd like to donate, there's about 2,000 meals that we're going to be getting out to our unhoused families and our unhoused folks in these encampments, hygiene kits, clothes. There's always opportunity to give in some kind of way. And we're going to be out impacting our community for this event. So we are excited. We'll be out there. You'll see me, a number of folks out there at this event. It's a huge event, but we definitely need all of the support from community to come out so we can impact our community. Also, our both sides of the conversation, the East Oakland Collective, we are presenting our both sides of the Bay Family Bowling Day that's happening February 19th from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. at Sea Bowl. This is a free event to community, but you must sign up. We've been putting the registration information out on all of our social media. So if you want to be a part of this event, you want to bring your kids out and have a great day, everything is free. All you have to do is come out and bowl and enjoy yourself. We know this COVID has impacted our families. We know our young folks been disturbed, and we just want to have a day where our family can just come out and network. We want to start building this gap of information and network in our community and let some of our young folks meet each other and bring some of the family together so folks can just be out and convene with each other. So this is a great stress reliever, a mental health, great family day event. I know there's a number of events going on, but if you want to come out and support and be a part of this, and you want to give your kids a little free outing and you don't have to worry about impacting your pockets, come on out, enjoy the day with us. It's going to be a great event. Also, a new STEM hub for our Children and Youth Community Resource Center is opening at 5813 Mission Street. This is a Black-led, women-owned organization that is doing this. This is phenomenal as we want to continue to impact and empower our young folks with STEM. And that's very, very important. We want to get them in the STEM realm. So we are excited to be seeing that this happening. We'll be getting more information out about it as well. Also, the 12th Bayview Black History Month and Lunar New Year celebration is happening. It'll be live on the CFC Facebook and YouTube pages Saturday, February the 5th at 11 a.m. And I know the Baby Y is a part of this and a number of other community organizations. It is happening and we are excited. So we just going to be pumping out that information community as more of it comes down the line. There's a number of events that we're going to be posting throughout the week that's coming out. More and more folks are submitting stuff to us to get it out to the community. So please tune in. If you haven't signed up for our newsletter yet, please sign up for our newsletter to find out what's going on in the community. If you want to get connected with some of the community events, check us out. All the information will be on our newsletter as well as on our social media handles. Also, it's time to talk reparations with the San Francisco Human Rights Commission. The next meeting is happening February the 7th at 5:30 p.m. There's a registration link that we'll put in the chat and on our social media handles if you would like to be part of public comment or you want to see what's going on. I know there was a big article in the story this week about Governor Newsom talking about reparation. Will California be the first state to really impact the state with reparation? A lot of folks are, talking about it, what it looks like. It's a long journey on this. A lot of community folks are involved, a lot of suggestions, a lot of questions. But if you want to be a part of it and follow what's going on, check out the San Francisco Human Rights Commission website. But you can also use this link. It'll be next on February the 7th at 5:30. And you can be a part of it and see what's going on and hear some of the talks that's going on. We have some phenomenal leaders that are a part of it. We have our board president of San Francisco, Shaman Walton, our mayor, Director Davis from Human Rights Commission. A lot of phenomenal folks behind this movement, a number of community folks advocating and organizing, trying to get these reparations that's been impacted not only here in San Francisco, but throughout the state and throughout the United States of America. It's happening all over. So way to go, San Francisco and California. We'll lead the way, and hopefully we do it right so that everybody that follows suit could get those blessings and those resources to our community folks as well. Also, San Francisco Black Wall Street and the San Francisco African American Culture District is inviting families to come out to the San Francisco Black Family Photo Day that's happening Saturday, February 27th at 1 p.m. It's going to be at 101 Horn Avenue in San Francisco, 94124 zip code. For the D10 folks, if you want to be a part of that, please come out, sign up. We'll get more information out to you as it comes down. But this is going to be a great event for our families. It is going to be happening. So I'm excited and looking forward to that event. Also, the African American Arts and Culture District is having another 3rd Street Humbre block party. If you all remember last year, they were doing block parties all over the community as we were dealing with COVID, making sure that our folks had a way to get out and convene in community, enjoy some of our Black space, listen to our music, and just engage with folks. So they're going to be kicking it off this year, February 27th at 3 p.m. It's going to be an outdoor event at the Gerald Outdoor. Vendors and community-based organizations want it. So if you are a resource or a vendor and you would like to come out, promote your business, and be a part of it, please reach out to the San Francisco African American Arts and Culture District, and we'll get that information out to community. Very, very important stuff. And there's a number of other events that's going to be coming up that we're going to be part of next Saturday the 12th. There's a number of things going on, but also we're going to be a part of an important love conversation for our community as we try to bring Black love, Black healing to our community. And we're going to have a live conversation with some of our ladies of the community. And you're truly, John Henry will be there. And we'll be talking about love and how do we heal this Black love in our community? How do we get our men and women engaged in romance again? We know we've had some terrible, traumatic issues when it comes to courting and dating in our community. So I'm looking forward to that conversation as well. Also, our next show is coming up for both sides of the conversation. This Sunday, we'll be having another Ask Your Black Doctor conversation with Rafiki Coalition as this series is running through, and Dr. Mo and them are doing a phenomenal job of getting some of the most prolific doctors here to answer our community questions as we want to continue to focus on our Black health during this pandemic. We know the pandemic has kind of taken over the news and what we think Black health is, but we're going to be going ahead and taking some of those other questions that are impacting our community as well. Also, we're going to have Dante King come back on February 10th to talk about his 4 years of Holocaust, the book that he dropped. As you all know, we support him. This is a very, very important book, some real historic Black information that we need to know. And he's going to come back on and talk about his book launch and some of the things that he is doing in the community as well. So we are excited. As you all see, there's a number of things that are coming on here at both sides of the conversation. More things that's coming, our Dream Keeper initiative, some of our community partners, as we are planning and working to do things to continue to impact our community. With that being said, I'm going to close my mouth now. I have said enough. I know y'all tired of hearing me. I know tonight, a lot of our community, I know the numbers are going to be a little skewed. Tonight is African American Heritage Night for the Warriors. So we know a lot of our community partners, a lot of the community folks are out at the Chase Center getting ready for the game tonight. So I want to say thank you to all the community organizations that are out there tabling for this African American Heritage Night. We know that Chase Center is new and the cost of tickets is so high. So what a way to get out there and celebrate. So I know a lot of our community families are out at the Chase Center tonight, and they're going to cheer on our Warriors as they play the Sacramento Kings tonight for the opening of African American Heritage Night on this Black History Month. Way to go, Warriors, and way to go, community, for showing up. And we know a lot of folks are out there. So tonight, a lot of people will be watching the replay, but we're excited to see it. With that being said, we're going to give you all to our guest tonight. We're going to bring her up and let her introduce herself to the community. Phenomenal sister. Great information. I think this presentation is going to have a lot of you like, wow, great stuff, you all. So with that being said, we're going to bring up Miss Sheba, Queen Sheba. We're going to say Queen Sheba. She is coming to bless the community. Welcome to both sides of the conversation, Queen. Go ahead and introduce yourself and let the folks know what you're going to be talking about tonight.
Oh my goodness, John Henry, you are phenomenal. What both sides of the conversation is doing, I am blown. Congratulations. I mean, it just warms my heart so much to know that there are people who are so committed to the needs of our community and they're taking action. The action you're taking, John, I am truly humbled. And I say, you know what? I got to do better. I got to do more. But we're going to talk about money today because it is so important for us to fiscally, financially be able to be better stewards of what God has blessed us with. And so I want to be able to drop some seeds, drop some nuggets to be able to empower us as a community, the community at large. There are so many people, in the Black and brown community that, say they want to be successful. We want to all achieve some level of financial independence, but we really just don't have a roadmap. It's like you're trying to get from DC to California. You don't have a GPS. You don't have a map. And you just going to keep on asking folks along the way how you get there. Somebody might tell you the wrong direction. And that's what happens a lot of times in our community. We're listening to people who don't know enough information about finance to be able to give us the right instruction. So we got to have a plan. And so we're going to talk about the importance of that. But just to kind of give you an idea of who I am, my name is Sheba Rajeje Hakiza. I am a licensed financial coach. I actually came into this industry. Initially, I was actually started off in the financial industry was my second career. I started off in the international health space. And I don't know if I can share my screen there. John, is it sharing now?
Yes, it's up. You all ready to go? It's full
Okay.
screen.
Perfect. Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate that. But this is me. I started my academic career at Grambling State University. Give it up to the G men, the Tigers, the Grand Fam. And that's how I was able to actually get connected to both sides of the conversation, because I saw some posts that Camila Bailey had posted about sickle cell and about the importance of sickle cell in the community. I happen to be a sickle cell carrier. And because of that, I have had some different health challenges in my life. And we just find that as people of color, there are some specific pre-existing conditions and different things that we might inherit that we don't know about. And that if we don't have the right information, we'll go into a hospital and they discriminate against us as in a community. And so I didn't get the help that I needed. Almost, lost my life after my my third child, which is this little Hope that's over there on the corner. And so I had actually gone into biology at Grambling. That's what I finished my degree in. I went on to the University of Maryland to do a degree in public health. I did international public health there, finished my first degree and started doing HIV/AIDS research because I wanted to be able to impact communities that look like me. And the communities that look like me were the ones that were most affected by HIV/AIDS, especially, in the 80s and the 90s, the early 90s. And so I actually am originally from East Africa, was born in Uganda, raised in Louisiana and in North Carolina. And so, my goal was to be able to give back. And so I went back to Uganda, started doing HIV/AIDS research, and I realized that my aspiration to be a doctor could only help a limited number of people. But if I went into public health, I could be able to help prevent diseases. I could be able to educate people on different diseases that affect, our communities. And then that's why I ended up coming back and doing my MPH. Finished that. Went on to study malaria. And that's where I realized that, even myself as a sickle cell carrier was more susceptible to malaria. And so I studied things that I felt like I knew that I needed. And so I knew that there were other people that needed it too. So in the idea of both sides of the conversation, bringing up things that are pertinent to our community and to empower us, health was my first passion. And so I started working in corporate America. I was climbing that ladder. I was getting all sorts of manager titles. I was traveling, to hospitals and sites all over the world. And I ended up going into this industry with great aspirations. But then I met my husband when I was over in Uganda, and he just wooed me off my feet. And he was an attorney over there. He's a lawyer by profession. He came over here, did 2 master's degrees. We keep collecting all these degrees thinking that we're going to make us so much more money, but it just gets us in more debt. And they basically pay you about the same thing. And so we started as 2 corporate, managers. He was a lawyer. I was a clinical manager. And we were just, starting a new family. And I had to travel all over the place. And I just didn't like being away from him and being away from my children. And so they are my why. They're why I'm talking today, because I want them to have a brighter future. I want those 2 beautiful queens to know that they can do all things through Christ. I want my King Solomon, and that's his name, Solomon, to know that he is also wise and that he can do all things through Christ and that he can be able to lead nations. And so the way that came to be is that I was just looking for a way where I could still be a great professional, but be there for my family. And that's how I ended up in the financial industry, because someone asked me if I could have more time and more money, would I be open? And I said, yes. And they said, would you be willing to learn some new things? And I said, of course. We were already clients. We were already, clients with the company. So we went on. My husband left the legal profession, and I eventually joined him in business as a business partner. And now we're regional vice presidents, and we run our own financial firm here in Maryland. And so that's kind of the beginning of our story. That's my intro. Now we have, about 50 agents all over the United States that support our business. We work in every area of finance. And I wanted to get into the education piece about what we do in terms of how we help clients and how we can really be able to empower the viewers of both sides of the conversation and anybody else. And so if I go to the next slide, we have to ask ourselves as a community, why are people having so many financial challenges? And why is this the case is, one, we don't have a financial education. When I learned so much from my master's degree, my bachelor's degree, not a single class I took was Money 101. I never took a class on how to avoid the dangers of credit card debt. But as soon as I started college, I definitely got, there was a table for MasterCard and for Visa and Capital One trying to sign up kids that didn't have any income to become indebted, right? On top of that, we have all the student loan debt that we end up accruing as well. So financial education is necessary as well as book education. We need to know this, but as long as we're living, we're going to have money coming in and out of our hands. But how many of us have a manual on money? When you got your first paycheck, did they tell you this is how this money is supposed to work? But when you buy any appliance, don't you get a manual? Don't you have a manual for your car? We got manuals for everything, but we don't have a manual on finance. The second thing is we need a financial game plan. Listen, if we're trying to go anywhere in the world, if you don't have a map, a plan, a GPS, you're going to get lost. And so most people, you ask yourself, how many pages is an average person's financial plan? They say, well, it's not even in writing. It's all in my head. Well, how are you going to get to the destination that you would desire to go to? You've never been to retirement and you've not have a plan on that, right? You can't build a house without a blueprint. So don't expect for your financial future to be secure without a plan. And then the last thing is that people don't have a financial coach. A financial coach, a financial advisor. If you ask Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Oprah Winfrey, do you think they have a financial coach? Do you think they have multiple financial advisors? But if you ask your sister, your brother, community members, do we have financial coaches or advisors that we meet with on a regular basis? And I'll tell you, John, when I ask that question, the answer is always no. So if we have these three things working against us, do we see why there's so many financial challenges facing our community, John?
Yeah, we have a lot of them. We have too many of them. And this is why this is important tonight. And I'm glad you're here to give this information out. We have to change our paradigm and our thinking when we come talking about our finances. So, yeah, we got some work to do.
Right. And so when as I go through and I talk about these financial challenges, this is what's affecting Main Street America. This is what's affecting our communities. We got to empower each other with the education. We got to then be able to sit somebody down with a financial coach who can actually get you a plan in writing. And then we got to learn the rules of money. So the first rule that we teach is the rule of 72. John, by any chance, have you heard of this rule before? Because I had not heard of this rule.
Oh, I know all about the rule of 72.
Awesome. That's what I'm talking about, brother. That's phenomenal. This rule of 72, as you can see over here, is Einstein called it the most powerful force in the universe. Compounding interest is the most powerful force in the universe. And you see, the rule of 72 is always working. It can be working for us or it can be working against us. And so how the rule of 72 works is if we take a given interest rate, let's say a 3% interest rate, we divide it into the number 72. It's going to go into that number, into 72 24 times. So if you have a one-time deposit of $10,000, it's going to take 24 years for 10,000 to become 20,000. And then it's going to take another 24 years to become 40,000. And so if we have a 3% interest rate, it's going to take 48 years for 10,000 to become a 40,000. Now, if we double that interest rate to 6%, 6 goes into 72 12 times. Now, John, I used to think you double the interest rate, you would have double the money. But because of compounded interest, every 12 years, that money's doubling. Now we have 4 times the money. But when I saw 12%, I was blown away because I said, now, how is it in all my years of learning that they never taught us the rule of 72? Because the difference between 3% and 12%, as you can see here, 12 goes into 72 6 times. Every 6 years, that money is doubling. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9 doubling periods. $10,000 now after 48 years is 2.5 million. Isn't this, John, and ladies and gentlemen, the difference between financial success and financial failure?
This is the best information our community needs to know, especially our folks who like to use credit cards and buy things. They have to understand it. So I'm glad you started off with this, because this is one of the most important things that our community needs to understand when we talk about interest and investments.
Absolutely. Because you got to wonder, it's like if I go and I put my money in the bank, you talked about Chase Bank earlier. We go to whatever bank it is. You go and you ask them, I'm going to open up a savings account with you guys. What is the interest rate? They'll kind of stumble over their words and they might say point something, something. Not even 1%. But if you go to that same bank and you ask them, what is the average interest rate for a credit card with you? And it's going to be way more than 12%. It might be 20, 29, even 30%. So how can we win the money game when we're putting money in an account that is earning us less than 1%? Because 1 goes into 72 times. So that means it takes $1, 72 years to become $2. But if we go and get our money on a credit card, every time you go to any retail store, what do they ask you? Would you like to open a credit card with us? How many credit card mailers do you get in the mail? Have you ever looked at what the APR is, the annual percentage rate? And it is so high that it would take you tens, even 100 years to pay off some of that debt. And so shouldn't we have been taught this rule in school? Absolutely. The question is now is, are you willing to be able to say, you know what, let me go and see what my interest rate is in my bank account. What is the interest rate in my credit card? And then you sit down with somebody that can help you to get a higher rate of return so you start getting your money working as hard for you as you work for your money. I'm sure there's a lot of people that work really hard for their money, but your money can't work hard for you if you don't have the rule of 72 working for you. Now, the other concept that we teach is the financial independence number. We also call it a FIN number. I tell you, John, this also was something that really, really changed the way I looked at money. Because somebody might say, oh, $500,000 is a lot of money. It sounds like a lot of money, $500,000. If you said at 65, you would have a $500,000 in the bank. Wouldn't you be better off than probably maybe 60 to 70% of the average retiree? You would, right? Definitely. But if you don't know a financial independence number, if you don't know what that number is, you can find yourself still having to work until the day you die. And this is the reason why. You see, your FIN number is the amount of money that you'll need to accumulate so that you can be able to live off of that money for the rest of your life and never go back to work. And so let's say we have a goal to retire in 30 years. You start at the age of 30, you want to retire at 60. And you want $30,000 coming in every month. That's $2,500 a month. Is $2,500 a lot of money, John?
No, it's really not.
It's not. And if we realize that actually 30,000 today is going to spend like 73,000 at a 3% inflation rate, right? So that means in order just to have $2,500 coming in, I got to have a financial independence number of $1,080,000. That's how much is needed to be in your investment account for retirement, just to have 2,500 coming in every month. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you will ask yourself, how much do I have in my current retirement account? Somebody say, I don't even have one. Okay, so step one is just starting, right? And so how much would you need to put aside? Just to get to 30 years from now, if you put it in at a 9% rate of return, that would be $585 that you would need to be saving a month. Most people don't know these numbers. And because in the Bible says that, the people perish for lack of knowledge. We cannot continue to think that we'll thrive as a community if we don't have the knowledge to equip us to make better decisions. Make sense?
I want to say this: with inflation so high right now, that
Right.
number is going to be 4 to 5 times in the next couple years. So, I mean, we got to get our community moving forward. I'm always educating our community. We need you to be putting 15% of your gross income up into your Roth and investing fast.
Absolutely fast, like today, because it's not, those. Yeah, I tell somebody, you go to when we were kids, right? You could get I think a cheeseburger was like less than like 50 cents or something like that, right? Now you go to McDonald's, that same burger is like almost $2 or something like that, and so you can imagine what it's going to be like 30 years from now, probably $5 for, for one little hamburger from McDonald's. So we know that inflation is real. So you have to realize that if is that meal at McDonald's that important? Is it better for me just to go to the grocery store, get me some ground beef, make the burgers at home, and then I would, spend $10 on groceries, right? And then you save that other 30 and put it into an investment account for your family. So it's just little decisions that we can make. So how important is it for us to know our financial independence number? It's important as knowing your social security number if you want to one day retire, if you want to one day to not have to work. Now, I say retirement, it used to be an age. We say, oh, I want to retire at 60 or 65. Well, it's not an age, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. It is an amount of money. That is what retirement is. Once you achieve a certain amount of money in savings that can be able to generate an income for you, then you don't have to go back to work. Now, you might love what you do and you say, I'm going to work till I die, but work because you want to work, not because you have to pay the bills. Make sense? Now,
make total sense. And I don't know if people want to work till they die, because right now in America, there's about 8.5 million folks quitting their jobs every day. So I don't think people want to work.
No, they don't. They don't. Well, then you say, but where do I get 12%? Where can I get this kind of return? And I can go into more detail in terms of, how, what type of investments and things like that. But we usually don't do that just on an open public forum. We do that on a more of a one-on-one basis. But we do know that mutual funds have averaged over 12% over the past 30 years. But you have to have different places where you put your money. Okay. And so we recommend 3 fundamental accounts. To have a complete savings program, you need 3 types of accounts. One is an emergency fund. So this should be an account that has 3 to 6 months of living expenses. So food, shelter, gas, basic necessities. And that's any expenses that may come up in 0 to 2 years. Then you say, okay, so I have my emergency fund established. If I get laid off, if I get, disabled, if I'm ill, if I have, a repair, huge repair in the house or in my car, whatever may happen, that's our emergency fund. Then we usually put the like money markets, or, you can even do like a credit union, savings, whatever. Then you want to have access to it. Okay. Then we have short-term accounts. Maybe you have a goal in the next 3 to 5 years. You want to put down a down payment on a car or a house or, education, whatever it may be. You put that in a short-term account, 3 to 5 years that you'll be able to have access to that one. And then long-term, retirement, any other goals and dreams that you won't be needing to access that in anywhere less than 7 to usually 10 years or more. And that's where we put, like you mentioned, the Roth IRA and other types of longer term investments that can be able to give you the growth you need without the worry of risk, because it's properly allocated. So those are the 3 fundamental accounts that we recommend. And now we're going to talk about how we're going to protect our income. So we're going to switch hats from investment to being able to pass on generational wealth and being able to make sure that our incomes are protected. And I like to use the example of the toaster, because I think just about everybody, we all got a toaster in our kitchen somewhere, right? And so let's say you got a special toaster. And what if that toaster in your kitchen, every 1st and the 15th of every month, it popped out $2,000? Who wants that toaster? I want that toaster, right? So let's say you want the toaster. You probably would put a lock on this toaster. You probably going to definitely insure the toaster, right or right? Now, the question is, unfortunately, we don't have that kind of toaster in our kitchen, but you are the money machine in your family. You see, twice a month, once a week, there is money that is coming out from the effort and the work that you do to be able to provide for your family. So if it made sense to insure an imaginary toaster, wouldn't it only make sense to protect our income? So I like to have this conversation about the toaster, because realize that you're the money machine. Because if you stop working, your income is going to stop. In most cases, we got to think about, what if my income stops? How will my family continue to meet their basic necessities? And unless you have reached your financial independence number and you have enough money saved up for you to not have to be able, for them not to be able to depend on your income, you need to have income replacement. And income replacement or or protection is another word for life insurance. Now, life insurance is not something that we like to talk about as a community, because that means, well, shoot, I got to die. Who wants to die? Nobody wants to die. But how many times have we seen GoFundMe accounts up on social media? How many times have we had to raise money just for the funeral expenses? And so let me show you a real life example, like this gentleman here. Father, beautiful young kid, lovely wife. Each of them are bringing in $3,500 a month. Now, $3,500 a month is a total of $7,000 in income. Now, $7,000 a month is their income, but look at what their bills are every month. Mortgage, car, credit cards, utilities, groceries, childcare, entertainment, all these different expenses, they add up to $7,000. So why are people living paycheck to paycheck? Because we got too many bills and our income is not enough. By the time you get paid on Friday, next week you're broke before the weekends, right? Because of all the bills you got to pay. But let's say, God forbid, this lovely father, he's driving home late one night and he gets in a horrible car accident and he instantly dies. John, how soon does the company that he's working with stop sending that paycheck?
The next pay period.
The next pay period. So that means that now mom is left with just $3,500 and $7,000 of bills. How is she going to survive? What is she going to lose? Probably the house, most likely the car. Their whole lifestyle is going to be financially devastated. Now, we may have emotional devastation. Well, we will have emotional devastation, obviously, when someone passes away. But there does not have to be emotional devastation financial devastation if that person has life insurance. And so that's why we have to replace our income in case, God forbid, we were to pass prematurely. And so the importance of being able to, be able to do this is we want to make sure that our families know that protection of your income is the basis. That is the foundation of your financial house. Because while you're building up your wealth, if you lose your life, your income stops and your family's left financially devastated. And so that's why the foundation is number one, life insurance protection. Number two is you got to have legal protection in place. You got to have a will, a living will, power of attorney, probate. All these different things happen when people don't have a will. And so we want to make sure that everybody is in a position where they can be able to have their wishes in writing. It's not in your head. It's got to be in writing in those type of times. Next thing is an emergency fund. We got to make sure that we're protected in case anything happens. We lose a job, disability, appliance break, whatever it may be. We look at debt reduction. Debt is a cancer in our community, and we got to be able to remedy it by having a financial plan. And we help people to pay off their debts sooner and be able to reduce their interest costs. And then the last step is being able to secure our future for retirement planning, college savings, house savings, whatever your goals are. It's got to be in an account, not just sitting in a bank. And so, ladies and gentlemen, as I close, I ask these questions, and you want to ask yourself this question. Do I have enough individual life insurance in place in the event of a premature death? If you die tomorrow, the question is, how long will your family survive on your savings? Is it a week? Is it a month? Is it a couple years? You got to have a plan to replace your income. Do you have a will, living will, in a durable power of attorney? Thirdly, do you have 3 to 6 months of living expenses in emergency fund? Credit cards. Do you know when you are going to be totally debt free? Have you ever had your DFD calculated? Your DFD is your debt freedom date. This is the amount of money that you have in debt, and will tell you exactly at what date you'll be paid off and how much interest either you'll pay or you'll save. And then lastly, do you have a plan to duplicate your paycheck in retirement? That paycheck that you're bringing in every month is based off of the work that you did 1 or 2 weeks ago. But that day when you stop working, that paycheck is going to stop, and then you'll be living off of your retirement savings. So you got to make sure that you have a plan for that. Now, the last question that I ask people is, do you currently have a written game plan that addresses these strategies for your own financial house? When someone was building your house, there was a dream, there was a goal, there was an idea of what that house was supposed to look like. An architect designed a blueprint. And then the first part of that house, before any other part of the house was built, was the foundation. Would you live in a house with a cracked foundation? Would you feel secure in a house that you knew was on a shaky foundation, or a house that had no foundation at all? You wouldn't want to sleep at night with your loving children and your family knowing that your house would one day collapse on you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if we haven't laid a foundation to protect our income, we're living on a house that's about to collapse on us financially. And so you need to have a financial coach to draft that blueprint for you, to be able to put your plans, your wishes, your goals in writing, and then you give them, and then you work with someone to be able to implement it. So as I close, just want to just to finish up, we do offer a complimentary, and complimentary is a great word, isn't it? Because that's a fancy word for free. A complimentary financial needs analysis for everybody who is on this program today. We can be able to sit down with you and calculate your debt freedom date, calculate your FIN number, be able to help you to know what your foundation should look like. And if that is something that you truly want to be able to capture, and that's information that you want to acquire for your family, then schedule an appointment. You can find me on Facebook or Instagram at Sheba Rajeje Hakiza, or at Gifts of Sheba. That is my Facebook group. I'd love for you to join the conversation on finance and financial freedom and wellness. I would love for you to be able to visit my landing page there. You can find my website there. It's financialfavor.net. I believe in a God that is a God of miracles, abundance, and He has granted us financial favor. We are kings and queens. We are royalty, and there is greatness that is in store for you. So the Gifts of Sheba, our goal is for you to be inspired, to save more, to love more, and to serve more. And the service that both sides of the conversation is doing in the community, I just give you all kudos. And I am so honored, so blessed to have an opportunity to speak to the community. I hope that this information has been able to help you, bless you, empower you, and that you'll be able to take some action for us to get onto the road to financial freedom. Thank you so much, John. And do you have any questions for me?
Yes, I do. I'm going to remove the slides down for you. Okay. And jump into a great presentation. The Gifts of Sheba. Y'all know anything about it. Sheba brings gifts. She brought some sauce to the community tonight. Great information. Now, your last slide, I was trying to jump in here, but I was going to wait till you finish that you got called. Oh, okay. I didn't see insurance on your list. So you got to make sure you put insurance on that list.
Oh, yes.
Protect your personal income and make sure you get the insurance. That's one of the things when we talk about debt-free and getting folks financially freedom. We want to make sure that we're creating those budgets. Because I think that's one of the things that we're missing in our community. We don't talk about our folks sitting down and having a conversation about setting a budget, setting a plan. And that is one of the most essential things that we need to make sure is a part of our budget. We want to make sure that we plan for insurance. And I know there's a lot of questions about insurance. We've had a number of folks come on and talk about it. But we want to make sure that our folks at least minimum have some insurance coverage that they can cover at least 12 to 15% of their annual gross salaries. And, you had a great point when you had the families on there, the two income, $7,000 a month. And we want our community to start understanding the importance of covering that money. A lot of other cultures and a lot of other communities are passing on that generational wealth because they have those protections. And we want to move our community into thinking in those manners. We want them to be able to understand the power of this money. And when we're talking about the loss of loved ones and at the drop of a dime, incident can take place that can impact the family. Having those coverages is very, very important. And a lot of times we don't get that information. And I try to tell people, just think about your gross and you can go ahead and get, 12 times your gross to cover yourself, because you have to think if you have kids, family, bills, that transitional period, as you said, as we are emotionally trying to get back in place, you want to be able to make sure that your family can be able to sustain that same lifestyle if their partners, wives, husband are still there. So when we're thinking about insurance, we need to plan for those type of insurance. I'm not a big whole life insurance advocator. I'm more of the term life, 30-year. I tell our people, you can get a term year, 30-year life policy right now. I just was looking at some insurance stuff. You can get a $2 million policy for about $89 to $99 a month. Very, very affordable. Our community has cell phones and all the apps and all the gadgets, and everybody's walking around with Gucci and Prada and Herman bags and everything else. Please make sure you take $100 out of all of that and get you a $2 million plan. Very affordable. But that is something that we really have to put into play as our community. I agree with you. I am tired of the GoFundMes and folks out here selling chicken dinners and car washes to bury our loved ones. We have to be intentional with our finances. And that's what these segments is about, to get this information, to change the thinking of our community, folks. Just to jump back, and I see some of the stuff coming through, when we're talking about investments and it's very powerful that, we have a sister here and we've had other folks, Black and brown folks, come on here to educate and move our community forward with finances. One of my biggest things is I always tell people when they come on our platform, don't play with my people, be straightforward. You know, I mean, I understand that everybody has a business and they have to make their profits and things of that nature, but I want to make sure that we are educating our people and putting them in the right place. And we're talking about investments and things of that nature, because a lot of times our folks don't have that level of experience. And when they're coming to folks like you and other our folks that come on here, the expectation from me, John Henry, on both sides of the conversation, is that you make sure that our folks is well equipped with the information and understanding, as well as that we are being intentional and making sure that we push them in the right investment. So one of my requirements that I always tell all my wealth folks and investors is the first thing that I want to do when we talk about our folks and retirement and investing, I want 65 to 70% of their investment in index funded accounts. Okay. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to sell our folks any kind of way to get in the stock market, I want 70% of their money going into index funded accounts. Okay. And the reason why, and I tell the community, we have these umbrella accounts and these mutual funds. Okay. There are high service costs. And it's no knock to the folks who have to make their money. But again, the service fees sometimes over a long-term investment, especially for our folks who are struggling, barely making it, and getting into that retirement age, the amount of service fees that comes out of those accounts can sometimes take a large portion of those investments. And I want to make sure that I always tell the folks, you know, so when they're investing our money, there's always trust issues about investing. I want to make sure that my folks is getting 70% of their total umbrella investment. We want to make sure that 70% of it is in index fund accounts for the long term. Now, whatever you want to do with options and mutual funds and any other bonds, that's fine. But I want to make sure that 70% of their investment is in index funded accounts. 92% of all wealthy millionaires and billionaires in this country have indexed funded accounts. And I always tell them, if they don't tell you about it, you always should ask why. You go to any brokerage, 90% of the time, these folks are going to talk to you about mutual funds and other accounts that are service fees attached to it. Not saying that you're going to have none the other way, but I want index funded accounts. So I want to make sure that anybody that you run into, when you see that black and brown face and they say, hey, I heard your presentation. I want to invest. I want to go ahead and start putting this money up. Make sure that when we put them in these accounts, that 70% of what they're investing are going into index funded accounts. And we want to make sure that we educate our folks on the different accounts when it comes to how their lifestyles is. And I think sometimes we miss that gap. And we just want to make sure that we do that with our folks, especially when we're talking about Roths and when we talk about retirement, you know, and understanding how we're going to be taxed and leveraged. We want to make sure we pay those taxes up front, because inflation and interest is only going to go up. It's never going to go down. So I want my folks to pay now where it is. So when they get to that retirement age and they have these Roth accounts, you know, when they start pulling out money to pay off their house or pay for their grandkids' college, that they're not getting penalized or they're not getting that overall income of the year that impacts some of their other benefits. So I just want to make sure that I put that out there, because I'm always going to fight for my people. And I trust the folks that do this work, but I always want to make sure that when they come on our platform, I'm not letting them come in here, play with my community, because you play with my name and my reputation, because I bring them here. And my people, if I say this is a good thing, they go rock with it. So I got to make sure that the people that come on my platform and talk about investments and getting our people in there, I want to make sure that they are doing the right thing to make sure that they are protected and that they're in the right phases of investing in money, especially when it comes to insurance. And I fight with people all the time about insurance, and I'm not sold on whole life. There is whole life opportunities for some folks in different financial situations, but here at both sides of the conversation, we're dealing with that community of folks who are sometimes financially impacted and they don't have those resources. So I'm not going to say 100% whole life doesn't work for folks. But again, I always get on these insurance folks who come in my community and try to sell my folks these whole life policies, knowing that the premiums is going to go up in a couple of years and they ain't going to be able to afford the policy and they're going to lose all that investment that they already put in there. So I always recommend the community that I'm dealing with, that the folks that I know that are barely making it, because there's a lot of the folks that we are reaching to who are already single families, single mothers, already barely making it, are just over the hump. We want to make sure that they're not being put in these policies that definitely most times they don't even make it to the finalization of the policy because the premiums kick them out. But, you know, there are, you know, opportunities for folks, you know, different situations to do whole life and different things like that. But I'm talking to the people my people, and I know where my people are, and we want to encourage them to get into protecting themselves, and we got to give them the most affordable, feasible, but protective type of policy. So, just wanted to put that out there. Nothing against the presentation, but I want to make sure.
No, you on point. Listen, John, I think that knowledge is power. I think that we got to be able to have diversification of assets. When you're in a position where you can be able to, to utilize different vehicles of investment, we want that to happen. I wouldn't recommend something that I don't personally have for myself. I think that integrity is number one, right? And so I would, when it comes to insurance, for example, in that picture of the financial house, if we go back to that, it really can be able to show people that insurance is the foundation, right? The life insurance. Now, I know that if you are a large net worth where you have millions in assets and you want to do some estate protection of some sort, at that point, maybe whole life would be, something that you find to be appropriate for you. But for our middle market, which is our target market, 95% of my clients are people who are in the middle to low market. That most financially feasible is a term policy, and I would say that you get the most protection for the least cost. And I'm thankful that I was not somebody who was a victim to whole life insurance, because I have many people who felt that they were betrayed by it. But we also need to make sure that if that term ends, that the person has a plan at the end of the term, right? And so that's why we got to make sure that we're planning now in case we do die prematurely, and we got to protect that income. I'd like to call it income protection, income replacement, because we're not insuring life. Nobody can insure when you're going to live or die. What we can do is protect your income so your loved ones aren't left financially devastated. And so when I sit down with a person, I want to make sure that I can do the full job. And that's why I'm licensed in all areas, so that when I sit down, I can have the ability to protect that income with their life insurance plan, get them a term policy. And the term should be, and at least until your youngest child is 23 years of age. Because usually, I don't know, what age were you when you became independent from anybody, your parents or anybody that was taking care
I don't
of
know
you?
if you want to ask me that question, because I think it was about 15 years old. My mama said, "That's it, you grown, boy."
Right. Okay. So some people, it might be 15, 16, maybe it's 20, maybe it's when you're finished with college, right? And so you got to make sure that if you really want your child to be able to be, your children to be successful, then you leave something until they're able to go out and get an income of their own. And then we also look at, having at least 10 times of our annual income. Now, some people say, well, I can't afford that. Well, you start where you are. What we want to get our people doing is starting the habit of saving and protecting your income. Then from there, we can be able to build off of that. You talked about index funds. I definitely think that there should be diversification in portfolios. We should not put all of our eggs in one basket. But I know that if we have a mutual fund that somebody can start at $25 a month, if there's a dollar service fee for that, then I know that person wouldn't be able to invest in Amazon and different other, Fortune 500 companies with that little of an investment. So there's some companies that won't even talk to a client who doesn't have at least $250,000 to invest. You take all your family, friends, put them all together. How many of them have $250,000 to invest? And so we got to look at who can we deal when it comes to just starting people in a habit of systematically investing, getting compound interest working for you, learning the rules of money, getting out of debt, being able to know how a debt stacking program works so we can pay off those high interest cards, be able to put our money to, to the highest balance, to the lowest balance, pay that off, get a quick victory, yay, then take that balance. Don't go get another credit card. Don't go buy something else, but take that balance, add it to the lowest balance. And before you know it, your mortgage is paid off early. Before you know it, that big credit card is paid off. And you feel like you are now getting out of that rat race of credit card debt.
Yes, great information. I mean, the whole hope says, with the term and everything, my ideal of what you're doing today, and as we connect our community with coming to learn financial literacy and impacting themselves, that we're hoping that they're not relying on insurance, right? It's a protection, right? But our goal is to, one, like you said, get out of debt. We want to get our folks financially responsible, setting those budgets, making those investments that you talked about earlier, getting into those brokerage accounts where they can get up to 12% return on their money. I don't know if everybody's getting 12% now with all going on, but we'll say up to 12%, in the hopes of that. I would always tell people, I would say 8 to 10 to be safe. But the ideal is we're trying to get out of debt and help them build the wealth. We want to also encourage our community to find, multiple streams of income, and, through rental markets and businesses and other opportunities to bring income to compensate for that. But definitely, there's a lot of work depending on the age. But when I look at the research, I was doing some research on some of the insurance numbers. Folks 35 and up is that gap of folks who are not protected due to medical issues and different things of that nature. And that's why I always encourage people to try out the term because they have the lightest medical requirements and things of that nature. You could get around some of that stuff at that age. With the whole life and some of the other ones, health is a big thing. And that's a lot of concern that I hear from community folks. Oh, well, they're asking for this and I got to do this medical thing and I might not qualify. So we want to make sure, that's why the term is, impacted. As we know, the health disparities in the Black community, we have the highest issues when it comes to health,
Right.
High blood pressure, diabetes, and things of that nature. So we just want to make sure that they have some way to protect themselves. And the 30-year term is sometimes works, especially for our folks that's, 35 years plus, hopefully in that 60-year range, if you're doing the right things and investing, putting 15% of your gross income up and you're saving money by the time you're 60, even if you term out. You've made some financial great decisions and you're able to sustain yourself and for your loved ones, if you built that trust and all of that stuff with your estate planning, that hopefully you'll be able to leave some of that wealth and you won't need as much as that policy to help out your loved ones. But again, it's a lot of work. And this is the baby steps. We're starting here. We're getting the information out. But for community, these are the folks that you want to reach out to have a conversation and set up your start. In 2022, I said we are kicking this year off about health and wealth. And we want people to take those steps to building their financial freedom, as she said earlier, and getting out of the financial slavery that we are in our community. When I look at the debt numbers the other day, I couldn't believe how many of our folks are so far in debt. And we have to start working on that as inflation is going up. And I was just watching today, the Feds is going to have about 6 to 8 interest rate hikes. That's going to impact our community tremendously. As we know, our folks are the highest when it comes to credit card loans and debt, as well as car loans and debt. Those variable rates that we don't pay attention about and we didn't want the fixed rate are going to be impacted by these federal interest hikes, as they are trying to slow down this inflation that is impacting our community tremendously, removing a lot of our discretionary funds, and some of our single families really struggling to just bring home some of the basic household needs. And we got to be mindful of that. And it's just terrible. And I'm glad you talked about the Rule 72, letting people understand when they're taking out debt and using these credit cards to understand the actual cost that they are paying over these times with those minimum payments and how much the loss of income that they are losing. And as this inflation goes up, and these lenders, because they are sharks, and I have to tell my people, they are sharks. They're not sending you all those credit cards. I get them all day in the mail. I got $100,000 credit card for you. They're going to get you in debt, okay? Because they want to charge you 29%, 30%. Our people ain't paying attention, and they just paying the minimum balance. And 9 times out of 10, a lot of these folks are paying 2 to 3 times the original price of their purchases. And we want to wake our community up for that and let them know a credit card is just not a free shopping spree. Some folks out there preying on you to take your money, to keep you in that financial slavery. And that's what we want to wake up our community to be smart, building this economical power so that we can move our community and our generations of young folks forward. So very, very important stuff.
Definitely.
We're going to keep working, community, but what a way to get a great connection with Sister Sheba tonight. But yeah, if there's anything else you want to talk about, please go ahead. But that's just, I wanted to get that out there. I think that's the most important thing for me. But if there's anything else you want to talk about, please go ahead and let it out now.
Okay, well, sure. I think that there's, when you talk about, spending and having, budgeting, and we have some spending plan tools. We have things that people can be able to utilize to be able to, to be more financially stable. And so what we also encourage is using cash. We have gotten away so much, John, from using cash. It's so much easier to go to that, go to the grocery store, and you go to Costco, and it's like, dang, just one trip to Costco, you can spend about $200, $300, right? And so, but if you go with $100, and you know that all you got is this $100, that was what was in your budget for that line item. And you get these cash envelopes. So you have a cash envelope for gas. You got a cash envelope for your grocery. You got a cash envelope for eating out, right? And the things that are, like gifts, we might, I have a soft heart for, for folks and stuff. So, your kids have birthday party, you have different things that are going on. You got to be able to say, okay, so it's harder to spend cash, and you'll be more careful about spending cash than if everything is on that debit or that credit card. And so that's one thing that we do that is a practical thing that you can be able to implement today, right? You get your check, you say, okay, according to my budget, I'm supposed to be spending this amount on groceries. So you spread it out over a week if you do it once a week, but sometimes we go to the grocery store twice a week, 3 times a week, all sorts of stuff because we didn't plan, right? So if we plan it out, we know we got our cash envelope. That has been helpful for some of my clients. The other thing that we also recommend is that you got your 10, 10, 80, right? So 80%, live off of 80% of your income, right? At least minimum. 10%, I believe, needs to go towards giving. I believe I give to according to my tithe. That's what I believe in. But you might have some charitable stuff. You might have whatever your beliefs are. I don't know. Then you have 10% minimum for savings. And then after those things have been paid, then you live off of the 80. Have you ever gotten a raise at a job? You got a raise before, right? But somehow
I don't think I got a raise. Every time I get a raise, inflation takes it.
Right. That's the thing. It's like, you get a raise, they increase your income, right? But then you find yourself spending more, right? Instead of saying, okay, I'm gonna take that little bit because maybe they give you extra dollar or whoever. We got a lot of people living on the plant, working on the plantations. But it's like, we need to get ourselves empowered through entrepreneurship. I believe that that's the best way for you to work, right? Because you're in control of that. But if you do have somebody who's dictating how much you're getting paid, and every year you know that you're going to get an increase, then you still can live within the means that you were in before that increase. And you live off of 80, and then you can find yourself saving. But a lot of people say, and then there's a book called Automatic Millionaire. It goes out of your check immediately before you touch it, right? So there's things that you need to have as automatic bank drafts that do not, interfere with your spending, because you hadn't even seen the money. You didn't get a chance to take it out. You didn't get a chance to touch it. And so you start building that future for yourself. Too many people are, looking at, in a scarcity mentality. We feel scared that we can't save. But if you don't save, you will live a life of misery, right? You think about the ants. We always use the little ants. Ants prepare for the winter. A little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. There might be a bunch of them come together and they just, so we can collectively start thinking a little bit at a time, a little month every month. And then before you know it, you start going from $25 to $50 to $100 a month. But if you don't start with that 25, you're never going to get to the 500 to hit that financial independence number of 1 million. But so it's just, we want people to have some baby steps. We want them to be empowered. We're always training people if they're interested in learning more about finance. They want to come into the industry. You can get licensed and be able to be an advocate amongst the community, because we don't have enough people who have the licenses that I have to be able to work, and help people. So definitely, it's a huge opportunity to be able to be a blessing. And I'm so thankful for this forum. I'm thankful for the opportunity. And I'm just so impressed. With all, due respect, John, I just really have, I started in public health. I was a community educator. I worked in slums in Africa, and, I wanted to be able to work. I did needle exchange programs in West Side of Chicago and in South Side of Chicago and different things when I was in public health. So I am definitely a community activist. Was where I started my career, and then corporate caught me up. But I'm not going to give any excuses. I'm now seeing what's going on with both sides of the conversation, and I got to be more involved. But definitely would like to see, how we can, talk more about health and wellness and how that all ties into economic wellness, because that's, when I did my master's thesis, I looked at my malaria treatment practices, and I looked at economic, cultural, and social issues that affected how people treat themselves medically. And a lot of times in communities of color, we make medical decisions based off of our finances. So if we can't get better financially, we're not going to be better from a health standpoint either.
Very powerful stuff. I'm 100% there with you. I think mental health is the number one issue in our community. We can't do anything until we get our mind right. We don't need people out there emotionally spending. I've done a lot of this work helping folks. I used to do a lot of it. It is just, I try to give the education and information because I was one of those fools that was just spending money, wasn't saving money, single and dating, going out, spending thousands of dollars. You gotta, you have to budget. And I'm glad you brought up the envelope thing, because I did that for a long time when I was trying to get to my financial self, getting in the right realm. But the times we are in, unfortunately, the paper dollar is slowly going out of circulation as our federal treasury is going to digital currency. Can you give our community some tips? Because if we don't have the envelope process to save money and we're going to this digital, one of the biggest things that I found when I was doing financial assessments of folks that needed help and I was trying to support to get out of debt, the biggest things is all these subscriptions and gyms. They don't look at their budget because everything is just being taken out of their account through their debit cards. How do our community adjust to that? Because a lot of times we sign up for these subscriptions, we do certain things, and money's just coming out of our account. We know there's money there, but we're really not grasping hold. And I think that's where you come in very powerful about having those financial coaches and folks to be on you to monitor what's going on. I mean, some of these folks, I would sit down and I would look, and these folks would make really good money. I go, you got $2,000 a month going out the door. Partying, gyms, membership, Netflix, all of this stuff. Do you use this stuff? 90% of this stuff we don't use. And, you're talking to our community. We are the biggest spending community, in this country. We are the biggest debt consumer of this country. You go to some of these folks' house, millions of dollars of shoes and dresses and purses and all this stuff. And it's like, what is going on? But, I think the coaching is very important. But, yeah, if you could give us some tips because, the envelopes, cash, people just having access to cash is kind of going away. How do we do that in a digital format?
Right. No, that's so awesome. You know, when it comes to all this stuff, I always say, have you ever seen a U-Haul truck following behind the hearse? No. Ain't none of that going with you. You can't take not a Louis bag. You can't take any Gucci. You can't take any of that stuff. So I know we like to look good, but half the time we're just trying to impress people that we don't know with money we don't have. So we got to stop that first, okay? And you got to say, you know, how about wanting to impress people with my net worth? How about wanting to impress people with my positive net worth balance and not my red, you know, net worth? And so I think that we have we have to that's step one. We got to stop, you know, trying to impress folks. It's not worth it. Secondly, there is an app that I have used and I find it to be very helpful. I'm not trying to advertise for them or something, but it is good. It's called Truebill. And Truebill is a very effective way to identify unrealized subscriptions that are just coming out of your account every single month. And you can be able to use that to, you know, to cancel things and to just get those things under control. So I definitely think that that is very helpful. The other way that I've seen that is you know is helpful is sometimes, you know, you want to have different accounts for different purposes. When we were early in starting our business, you know, we had one account, like a checking account, and, you know, and then we had a retirement account, and then the savings was just something, you know, at the credit union or whatever. We had to incorporate a business and have a business account and use it just for business purposes. And you got to realize that the US legal tax system is written for business owners. So if you're just being paid as a W-2, you're always going to pay much more taxes than someone who owns a business. So you got to figure out, how can I be able to reduce my taxable income so that I can be able to have more money that's in my paycheck, right? And so that's where those are some things that we need also to you know, work with our small businesses. You know, you need to get a CPA, get somebody who's an expert to be able to really organize yourself. Like when they had you know, the relief from COVID and stuff like that. Some people couldn't get to those funds because they didn't have their paperwork in order for their business. And so those are things that we have to start thinking about, is that, you know, how can I have some way to be able to reduce my taxes so that I can be able to have more money so I can invest, you know, so that I can have something that is my cell phone, my car, a portion of my mortgage, or, you know, all internet, all of those are can be business expenses, but we don't know that. And so it's very important that we also, you know, get some of those concepts of money management also to work for us.
But I'm not going to let the SBA off the hook. They have done a terrible job in the Black and brown community. It's not just about filling out the application.
Right.
I got a bone to pick with them. I'm hoping to get some of them folks to come on and talk about it. But in the Black and brown community, especially during this pandemic, our small businesses have not got the proper representation and service from the federal government, from the SBA. A lot of these large organizations and sustainable organizations took advantage of that money, and they was denying our small businesses left and right. So I'm not so sold on it, just all our community not being able to fill out the paperwork, because I think that's a narrative that they always try to push. Oh, these small business owners, they don't know. I still think that there's some equitable issues or inequities
Oh,
that they have
100%.
that impacts us when it comes to how they giving out these funds and supporting our community. So I ain't gonna let the SBA off the hook. They got to do a better job. I think they need some leadership. I think the federal government got to do a better job when it comes to these disasters and it comes to these situations like COVID in these emergency times of doing a better job of how they screen and how they support community. So I'm not gonna let them off the hook that easy. But again, yes, as community, that's why it's important for folks like you to come on to help give that information. And we are recruiting and trying to get some folks to come on and do some of this tax information from our community as we are approaching tax season. And some of these other gems that our folks need to know how to take advantage, like some of the wealthy folks do. I know a lot of folks hated when Donald Trump said, it's the tax law or whatever. They figured out the loophole. The game is, don't get mad at Donald Trump.
Don't get mad.
As community tax folks, our Black and brown tax advisors, come on the platform, connect with our community, give them the information so that they can utilize the loopholes that the tax there so that we could be, financially well off as well. And that's just all it is. It's just sharing information, empowering our community. They're going to shut us down now because we're uplifting our community. We giving up too much information.
You're going to get me in trouble now, John.
Yeah, the grandma going to be calling you talking about, hey. No, but but thank you, to come in. I know you've been here presenting for community. This has have been a great presentation that you put on, and we're definitely looking to connect with you in the future and see what other things that we could do to help impact our community as we are going to continue to focus on health and wealth. And just making sure we connect our folks with you. And we got a number of other financial folk that are trying to do things. And, it's time for us to collaborate. We always talking about solidarity. And it's time for the financial institution and folks like you all to collaborate in solidarity and work together too to impact our community. It is time for our Black and brown community to just work together in general to empower our community. I always say it about our doctors and nurses. Everybody's complaining about the healthcare system. I go, hey, there's enough wealthy doctors. Everybody want to talk about their PhDs and their degrees and how great they are. I said, let's get these doctors together across this country and let's open up our own healthcare facility. Let's get our own Black nurses working in our own stuff. We can't just worry about buying football teams and things of that nature. How do we bring true equity and resilience and sustainability to our community through the professional folks that we have? Everybody's so happy about what they do, but how do we work together now, right? We got all of the qualified folks, we got all of the degrees, we got all the experience, but we still not figuring out the basic levels. How do we work together? How do we come together? How do we invest in each other to really bring that equity to our community? And that's what I'm hoping in 2022 we start doing it, fixing some of these relationships, building some of these organizations, and bringing some of these powerful philanthropists together to say, hey, this is an issue in our Black community. We ain't gonna just talk about it. I need 200 doctors. Let's come together and figure out how we open up our own clinic to serve our people. So those are the type of solutions that we're looking for in 2022. I've been in enough meetings where everybody's complaining what the problem is and how the other coaches are doing this. I'm tired of hearing about them. It is now time for our Black community to act, get involved. Let's sit down at the table. Let's work together. Let's bring these resources together and impact our community every day as it is needed right now in this country. And I'm going to be a part of it. So if you want to bring it together, we're going to work together. No more silos. We're going to bring people together. We're going to build these relationships, and we're going to truly have impact in our community. So again, thank you for coming on. Look at this Queen Sheba here. All the way from the motherland. She came from motherland to our land. Look at that. Queen Sheba bringing gifts, sauce, and information to the community. Great stuff. And thanks to our team and Camila for connecting you. What a phenomenal sister. Just continue to bring this type of knowledge to our community. So we thank you for that.
Oh, thank you, John. It truly is an honor. Thank you to Camila. She's a beautiful just gift in my life as well. But I just, continue to just pray for God's blessing upon both sides of the conversation and all of the organizations that you are partnering with, that you are leading to be able to make an impact. There is such an enormous amount of need, and you are feeling it. So whatever I can do, please do not ever hesitate to reach out. I think that this is so important that we are able to, build those relationships. There's a collective group of people, who are talking in different spaces, but we got to start getting them to be together in another way, so that we can be able to take action. And so let's be people of action. And I appreciate this opportunity. And may y'all continue to just meet the needs of the people, and let's fly. Look, we're eagles. Let's get this going. So there's no need to stay down. We got a lot of hope when we got wonderful people like John leading the way. So thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you very much. That's my favorite saying. Eagles fly with eagles and Tweety birds fly with Tweety birds. We don't want the Tweety bird. We want the eagles. Well, thank you again for coming on, community. This was a great presentation. I hope you was able to take some of these gems, some of this information, and please connect with this queen and let her be your financial coach. Let her be one of the folks to help guide you into that financial freedom, as we're going to continue to push this type of information throughout our platform and to our community folks every day. I am excited to have you here. You are part of the Both Sides of the Conversation family. If there's anything that we can do to support you, help you, you want to come back, you're doing an event, please utilize our platform to help get that information out to our community. We are here on your side, community. With that being said, our next live event will be this Sunday. We'll be having Rafiki Coalition here and a special guest, Asher Black Dr. Sears, continue to move forward. We'll be talking about health, Black questions for our doctors outside of our COVID updates, great information. So we're just excited for this Sunday's presentation. Looking forward to that. And then this Tuesday, we'll have another segment of our hidden gems where we'll continue to highlight our Black and brown businesses, as well as our community leaders and organizations that are doing positive things to impact our community. As every week we do that and put that light on it for our community, because we want to patronize our Black businesses. We want to uplift our businesses and bring that economical power to our businesses so that we can have ownership and sustainability. Unfortunately, so many of our businesses in our community are shutting down because of COVID, because of the financial lack of support, and we want to make sure that we patronize our businesses and uplift those folks as well. With that being said, thank you all for tuning in to this segment of our Educational Thursday. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Looking forward to seeing community and being out with community. For all of our community folks at the Warriors game tonight, go Warriors, and we hope they get a win on this opening night for them, for the African American Heritage Night. As we are continuing to get through this Black History Month, do your part to educate your young folks, teach them the historic history, but also teach them the leaders of today that are doing phenomenal things to impact this country. And every day there are more and more things happening. Shout out to our mayor, our board supervisor, Shaman Walton, all of the Black leaders in San Francisco and across this Bay Area that are impacting our communities. We appreciate your service and the things that you are doing for our community. And we are looking forward to this historic Black History Month of connecting with our folks and just celebrating and uplifting the life of our leaders and the folks who have done so many great things to help not only impact our community, but this country as a whole. With that being said, thank you all. See you. Be safe out there. And we'll see you this Sunday for our next live broadcast. Have a blessed evening, everybody. Stay safe, and we'll see you soon.